When you think of a lawyer, what image comes to mind? Just for a moment, close your eyes if you're able and comfortable doing so, and just picture that lawyer in your mind. And just have a think about what characteristics stand out for you. What qualities do they have? Is it how they sound? Is it what they look like? Or is it that they make lots of money? Perhaps you picture somebody in a wig being assertive in the courtroom, commanding the room and shouting objection at every opportunity. And for those of you who are familiar with the legal profession, perhaps you see somebody in a demanding and stressful profession with no time to look after their well-being, constantly being on, let alone being able to spend time with loved ones. And some of you may have pictured something else, and that's absolutely fine. But the standard image of a lawyer is somebody who is extroverted, serious, larger than life, bold even. And somebody who works long hours. Now, I tried this exercise on a group of people quite recently, and one of the responses I got was expensive. So who would have thought lawyers were expensive? But whatever image you've created in your mind, I would invite you to hold on to it, because I'm going to show you a different side to the world of lawyers, one that you might be surprised about, one where quiet, thoughtful, reserved, and introverted people make fantastic lawyers too. Now, I've been in the legal profession for 18 years now, and I am a solicitor, and I work in the area of wills and probate, tax and trusts. It's such a fascinating area of law. I absolutely love it because it's all about people. It's all about life. And I feel like I can make such a big difference in the lives of my clients. And you might think, well, being introverted is not a natural fit for a lawyer, for a legal career. And I am an introvert. I'm also shy and socially awkward. And I wasn't destined to become a lawyer. I was on my way to being an accountant, because when I was at law school, I was studying part-time and I was also working full-time. And one Monday morning, I was in a meeting with my manager, and I'd just spent a full weekend, a really intense weekend of studying. And in that meeting, my manager turned round to me and he said, "Scott, you'll never make it in law." And as I reflect back, I felt that that wasn't said out of cruelty. In fact, I believe he saw something in me which I didn't quite see at that time. He saw my quietness, my shyness, and probably believed, like lots of people do, that introversion and law don't mix. That introversion and shyness is a weakness that we have to overcome. Now, fast forward to the 3rd of June, 2013, gosh, I had to think then. That was the day I qualified as a solicitor, so I did make it in law. But that experience made me realise we have a problem in law. How many good candidates are we losing because of the extroverted perception of the profession? How many introverts won't enter the profession because they feel it's not quite right for them, they don't fit? And it is a problem in the profession, this perception. And we need to have a think about how we can create educational institutions, how we can create our workplaces where we will nurture and ensure that introverts can fulfill their potential, that their skills and natural abilities are nurtured. But if we are to do that, we need to understand what introversion really is. Now, as an introvert, my energy is drained through social interaction and through overstimulation. So I get my energy from quiet time, from doing the things I enjoy, from regaining my energy just being quiet and still. Whereas extroverts, they will get their energy from being with people because they like lots of human connection. That's not to say that introverts don't like that too. They do, but just in smaller doses. And all this is on a scale, so we can have a mix of introverted and extroverted personality traits. And we may refer to people who have that mix as ambiverts. But introversion is not the same as shyness. And that's often viewed as the fear of judgment. So we can be introverted and not shy, just as much as an extrovert could be shy. But when I was at school, I didn't understand any of this. It wasn't taught. We didn't learn about introversion and extroversion. And at school, being an introvert was really difficult. I nearly became one of those people who didn't give law a try, who didn't fulfill their potential. In fact, drama was my favourite subject at school, believe it or not. And I wanted to become a teacher or a journalist, but I didn't have the confidence to know what to do with that. Because in school, my reality was I was shy, I was introverted, I was awkward, I was nervous, and I used to blush a lot. So you think this TEDx dot is red, you should have seen me. So in the classroom when I was being asked a question, in social situations, and sometimes I still do. When I used to blush, I used to get so hot as well. I used to sweat. And I'll let you into a little secret. I'm probably doing that right now. But these things, they used to worry me so much that I would go off to the library and I would be hunting for books on blushing, and I would sit there reading them because I was trying to work out, well, what was wrong with me? But I didn't have the courage to take those books out of the library because of fear of what the librarian might think of me. I'm sure there would have been lots of other books I could have taken out, which would have been far more embarrassing. And then through college and university and law school, I navigated my introversion in the best ways I could. I really focused on becoming a solicitor because that's what I wanted to do. But it did take a lot of determination, a lot of willpower, and countless training contract applications. But as an introvert, I was quite happy to do that, to spend that quiet time doing those applications. And then I got to a point when I qualified, the day-to-day realities of working in law really hit home, and the cracks began to appear. I became stressed. I became burnt out. So I knew something had to change at that point. And that change was self-employment. I became a consultant solicitor, a visiting lecturer, and now a trainer and speaker. And I'm pleased to say that has been a success because I managed to find a way of managing my introverted nature and my introverted needs. And now I'm taking everything I've learned over the last 18 years, and I'd like to share with you 3 challenges which the legal profession is very much facing at the moment. And I'd like to show you what that can tell us and how these challenges can help us to understand why the world needs introverted lawyers. And the first of those is the perception of lawyers. And we've spoken about that already with the exercise at the beginning. But how can we make it so that the law is all about people, it's all about trust, and it's all about outcomes? Well, we show people that introverted people make fantastic lawyers too. And we value those introverted qualities. So things like deep reflection, spotting details and patterns that others might miss, but also being able to build those strong connections with clients. Because as an introvert, working one-to-one with clients is what we do best. It's a natural ability. Now, that's not to say that extroverts can't do that too. but it's just that introverts have that as a key strength. Now, at this point, I don't want you to think I don't like extroverts. I absolutely love extroverts. I love the energy they bring. I love their excitement. I love that they can take action quite decisively. And we still need extroverts in the profession to do what they do best. And that's leading those group conversations. It's creating inclusivity so that introverts can have a voice too, that their ideas can be heard. And that's what they do so brilliantly. So we need them in the profession too. And we need to create our educational institutions and our workplaces so we can help students and lawyers and the people in those organisations to understand introversion and extroversion. And we need to encourage the shy and quiet so that if one day they want to, or they think about becoming a lawyer, but they think, well, I'm a little bit introverted, I'm not quite sure if this is for me, that they are encouraged and they have the confidence to know that introversion is not a barrier to law. It's not a barrier to reaching their potential. And they know that law is inclusive. And that's how we change the perception of lawyers. We do that through inclusivity, through building trust, and through great outcomes for our clients. Now, the second of these challenges is AI. I can't believe I'm mentioning AI in this talk. I'm sure lots of you are very familiar with AI. You've probably used it today at some point. But I think sometimes we miss the point with AI and we use it to be more productive instead of using it to be more human. And AI is fantastic. It's great for the work I do as a Wills and Probate lawyer and for lots of other areas of law because it can give us that precision and that information. But when I'm speaking with clients about dying, about grief, they need somebody to hold their hand metaphorically. They need somebody to guide them and support them. They need someone to be calm and compassionate. And that's what AI can't do. It can't give us that human connection, that human touch. And introverts are amazing at listening. They're amazing at compassion. They're amazing at empathy. And that's the key characteristics we need when we are dealing with clients in those difficult life events. Again, extroverts can do that too, but it's just a natural ability for introverts. And I realized this through the positive comments I used to get from clients and still do, the positive testimonials saying how calm and compassionate I was and how much they'd appreciated what I'd done for them. So again, Wills and Probate is such a great area of law. Now, the third of these challenges is mental health and well-being. I realised quite a few years ago now that I could square this intersection of being an introvert, of working in law, and of managing my well-being. And a lot of the work I've been doing over recent years has been about, well, how do I perform at my best as a lawyer? How do I manage my energy as an introvert? How do I manage my well-being? I now realise you can enjoy the law and you can have a life outside of it, because we can use tools that we now have at our disposal in our working life. So things like remote working, a 4-day week, flexibility. And when we think about remote working, it's more about flexibility because it's giving us the option as to when and where we want to work on any given day. And that helps me to create those quiet times during the day, times I can go and regain my energy. Because law doesn't have to be about targets, time recording, sitting at our desks for 8 hours a day, because that doesn't suit anybody. So it's just finding our new ways of working. But it was only through understanding my introversion that I could understand that intersection between the profession, my experience, and managing my well-being. And now I can help others do that because I understand it. I can help the people around me, the students, the lawyers I teach and train. And those are the three things which I think can really make a difference. When I was at school, and I told you the story about looking for books in the library, about blushing, and I used to worry about being introverted and think about, well, what was wrong with me? I now realise there is absolutely nothing wrong with me. There's nothing wrong with blushing either. But introverts and extroverts, we must unite, because if we are going to change the profession for the better, if we are going to future-proof the law, then we need to have a law system which supports everybody in it and everybody who uses it. But we can only do that together. Now, you might not consider yourself introverted, but if you are, I would encourage you to understand and accept your introversion as your unique superpower and strength, because you don't need to become anybody else to be successful in law. You just need to become more of who you already are. If you work with introverts, create those spaces where they can really work at their best. Because when introverts are secure and they are safe, that's when stress reduces, burnout decreases, and performance improves. If you know someone who is introverted, then give them space to talk. Don't try and fill silences, but let them observe and listen if that's what they would prefer to do. Now, has that image of a lawyer changed for you? And we've only really been talking about law, but this could apply to every single profession. When I prepared this talk, I realised I had something important I could share. I had something that I know can make a difference. And I also know how deeply uncomfortable it can be for me as an introvert to stand here and talk about it. And I know I'll be spending time in a darkened room later. But I also know for the future of law, for the future of introverts, every bit of energy I've used today has been absolutely worth it, because introverts are essential to society and they're absolutely essential to the legal profession. Thank you.